long time coming, which often happens with visions. A group of Bostonians founded St. Paul's Episcopal Church in 1820. They were so proud of their new democratic nation, and so built a church modeled on a Greek temple, Greece being the birthplace of democracy. To honor their namesake, a relief sculpture of St. Paul preaching before King Agrippa was planned for the triangular pediment at the top. But the funds ran out, and the sculpture was never completed, leaving uncarved blocks of stone in place for over 190 years. Major renovations were planned for the cathedral interior, but we also decided to complete the pediment, believing it important to have a more noticeable and welcoming exterior. The Gospel of John recounts Jesus attracting disciples by invitation to come and see. We imagined our exterior could also be inviting, attracting attention and raising interest in our mission of being a house of prayer for all. A national competition was held to find the right artist. Over 130 people applied, and after 6 months, Donald Lipsky was chosen. His proposed Nautilus design the unanimous selection of the jury.
You know, a lot of times I agonize trying to think what would be right for something. This just came to me in a flash. It's a church, not just for Episcopals, but really for all people. So I was trying to think of a symbol or an image that would be spiritual but not be religious. And I thought immediately of a spiral. So I came up to visit. I went out in the common and went walking around, and it was a beautiful, sparkly day, and the lawn was covered with leaves, and there was a woman who had made a spiral in the leaves. And I thought, this is just wild. It was just like an omen. So then I thought the shell of a chambered nautilus. It's one of the oldest creatures on Earth. It starts its life in a tiny little chamber, and it outgrows that and moves to a new chamber that it builds. And then it outgrows that one and moves to a new chamber. And these chambers, each one gets larger as the animal is growing. So then I came across a poem by Oliver Wendell Holmes called The Chambered Nautilus. And in his poem, he's really talking about the chambered nautilus as a metaphor for spiritual growth, for moving out of this one chamber and into another chamber and constantly reinventing yourself as you spiral out into the world.
It is one thing to conceive this sculpture, another to actually fabricate it, to safely transport it, and to hoist it into place and install it. Lipsky succeeded in creating art which gave beauty to our facade, but also is symbolic of the inclusive and diverse gospel witness of St. Paul's Cathedral, which for over 100 years has been a house of prayer for all people.
We have done something bold and extraordinary with the front of our cathedral church. This Nautilus sculpture is a major contribution to the public art life of Boston. The simple beauty of it draws us into the mystery and creativity of the divine. As an Episcopalian and as a bishop, I'm especially proud of our cathedral church for doing the work of Jesus Christ, feeding the hungry and welcoming the stranger. Now our facade invites everyone into the beauty of this.
A cathedral is by definition the bishop's church, but St. Paul's has also become the spiritual heart of our diocese. Episcopalians from throughout our diocese fill our pews for significant services like ordinations and confirmations, many times a year. But every single week we welcome over 600 people, members of several partner faith communities who pray here.
Bob and bow, you may now embrace one another.
The Sunday morning congregation. The Chinese congregation. The Monday lunch worshiping community.
like to start that.
I love when Tina says, "This is God's table, everybody's welcome." I love that, because a lot of times in life I've been turned down, but when she says that, it's like, that's acceptance, and there's love and acceptance. That's something you need for the soul.
And The Crossing, a creative congregation of young adults whose worship is deeply grounded in ancient faith practices, but expressed in less traditional, sometimes unexpected ways. Our cathedral also welcomes a large community of Muslims each Friday for their required prayers, something they have done here every week since September 2000. It is our hope that completing the pediment with this beautiful, somewhat provocative symbol of faith, which is both ancient and quite modern, will engage and attract people just as Jesus did. In the Episcopal Church, we speak of sacraments, particular expressions of God's grace and presence, like baptism or communion. We define sacrament as an outward and visible sign of an inward and spiritual grace. Our new Nautilus sculpture is like a sacrament. It is an outward and highly visible sign of our inward grace. For too long, our building masked the warmth and welcome available for anyone, hiding the grace of the communities inside, in which people found their faith both strengthened and challenged, their lives transformed. Our new facade now boldly announces our inward and spiritual grace. We now invite the world. Come and see.